though. So normally what I do on these webinars is I present to our clients about a marketing and sales topic. And what I've been wanting to do more and more lately for our clients and for the general population, which is why some of you here are not our clients, is just bring in experts that are able to talk about things that marketing companies can't, right? So law firm specific things where lawyers need to know these things, right, to be successful. And they obviously pertain to business, they pertain to marketing. And so today I am joined by James Brown. So James is a very well-known coach in the industry. He's run a law firm himself, got it up to $8 million. And so he really knows what he's talking about. I've been very impressed with James. I don't usually bring people on that, I'm usually wary of bringing guests in, but I really know that James knows his stuff. He's going to show you guys that today. So he's going to be talking about building your firm's business plan. And I have seen how he does this, and I've seen the clarity that it gives to our clients, the clarity it gives to us as a vendor, the clarity it gives to other vendors. And so this will be a really, really good presentation. I hope you guys get a lot out of it. I'll let James now introduce himself, introduce the process, and take it away. I'm just here to sit here and nod and learn from James himself. So let's go ahead and roll.
All right, Elliot, thank you so much and welcome everybody. As Elliot said, my name is James Brown and I have over 20 years experience starting up and running a multi-million-dollar consumer law firm and over 5 years of consulting with business owners to help them build a solid path towards a profitable future. I'm going to be your host for this call. I got a lot of information to get through, so we're going to try to move. We're going to be moving pretty quickly. It's stuff that I've learned over the last 20 plus years running my firm about having a business plan in place that tells a story that makes sense so that you can stop running a law practice that is 100% dependent on you to operate and actually develop a thriving, profitable law business that runs the same whether you're there or not. Giving a shout out to Eric and Elliot for inviting me on today. What I want to go through today is not just theory. It's what I did to transform my business. Building my client engagement rate from 5 new clients a week to over 90 new clients a week within 36 months of launching a brand new firm. And that was an improvement of more than 1,700%. I increased my average case value over 60% while keeping my clients extremely happy by having the systems in place and the procedures. And I built my law business from 0 to just under $8 million a year of annual revenue. I had offices in 3 different geographic regions of the United States: St. Louis, Detroit, Kansas City. So let's make sure, guys, I wanted you to know a little bit about me, because this isn't just me teaching you how to do this. I've done it myself. And I had an end game in mind with my firm. I never wanted to practice law by the time I was 50, and I was successfully sold it when I was 49 years old. So let's make sure that you have a pen and pad of paper ready so that you can take notes, because I'm going to share with you lots of tips, and I don't want you to miss any of them. All right, if you're at your computer, take notes on your computer, but please don't surf the internet, don't check email, pay close attention to what's going on, because any one of these tips that I'm going to give you during this webinar can put a lot of money in your pocket, and you absolutely don't want to miss it. And then at the very end, we'll share with you how you can participate in a free one-on-one call with me to get some extra help, maybe, in how to put your business plan together. So listen to the entire webinar, and you're not going to want to miss that opportunity. All right, let's go ahead and roll this thing. Now, whether you've been in business for 6 months or 6 years, having a viable business plan should be the cornerstone of everything that you will accomplish with your firm. It is your roadmap of not only where you want your firm to go this year, but you should be thinking of where do you want it to be in 3 years or 5 years or 10 years? Am I building a legacy to be passed down in my family, or am I building something that I can eventually sell and retire comfortably without worry about finances? Do I want a large multi-million-dollar mega firm, or do I want a small boutique law firm that just meets my needs, right? The choice is yours, but you do need to make a choice, and you do need to have a plan for how you're going to get there. Without a viable plan, you literally are shooting arrows in the dark, hoping that someday you're going to hit some target. But what is that target? For the first 4 years of my law firm, I had no business plan and therefore no target. I was all over the place. All I knew was I wanted, quote, more. All right. But if you asked me what more was, I couldn't have told you because I never thought about it. Not having a plan caused me to make some pretty expensive mistakes that slowed me down in terms of both time and money. That can be and is avoided when you create a vision of where you want to go and why, and reduce that to a plan. Now, all things in this world are first created in our mind, and then we create it in reality, and your law firm is no different. Before we dig that first shovel full of dirt when we're building a new house, we've thought through what we want in that house, right? A chef's kitchen, maybe a resort style pool, a theater room, a game room. We don't wait until we're halfway through construction to just make decisions on what the house will ultimately be. Now, you could do that, but it would be really expensive, and the same goes for your firm. Without a plan, you will make some very expensive mistakes that's going to set you back. And in some cases, I've seen it force people to abandon their firm altogether. All right. We don't go on a trip. We don't go into trial, and we don't run a business without first having a plan in place. Now, my goal today is for us to collectively as a group, for you to walk away with a framework for a viable, living, breathing business plan so that you come out of the other end of today with a way to put maybe your current plan, make it better, or build your first plan, whatever that may be. And once you get the plan finished, right, don't just stick it in a drawer. You should be regularly reviewing it, measuring your actual results against your plan, and making adjustments as needed. Your plan is dynamic, like a plane that's off course, right? But actually, commercial airliners are always off course. And the computers on that airline are constantly making adjustments to get it back on track. The same has to happen with your firm. But we can't do that if we're not reviewing our plan regularly. At the end of the first quarter, are you on pace or behind schedule for the year? What do you need to adjust to get back on course? Are we setting ourselves up for success by always looking ahead at least a quarter to make sure everything we want to implement is in place and ready to go on the first day of the quarter? As the owner of your law firm, you own this. That is the one thing you can control. Even if you feel like you are, pardon my French here, but if you feel like you're standing in a pile of shit right now and everything is against you because of circumstances beyond your control, I've got news for you, right? It's on you if you choose to stay in that pile of shit, right? You were left there. No one's coming to save you. It's time to get up, rewrite the end of your story. The pen is in your hands, guys. And it all starts with having a business plan that makes sense as your roadmap for success. Now, when all of the components of your business plan come together, they tell a story. And that story is backed up by the numbers that make sense. And it has to be fortified by an unbelievable desire to execute your plan. And that desire is your reason and your motivation for doing what you do, right? And this latter point is key, because are you merely interested in doing this? It's just convenient. Or are you committed to do whatever it takes to get there? One book I will recommend is by Damon Johns. He's one of the Shark Tank guys. He wrote a book called The Power of Broke, right? I read that a long time ago. And even when I had an $8 million firm, I operate from the power of broke. I got to do whatever it takes today so I don't go broke, all right, and feed the family. And that's truly being committed. Now, your true motivation begins with your why. Why are you doing what you do? Why be a lawyer? Why own your own business rather than get a job somewhere else? Why this practice area over every other choice out there? Okay, this is your story. And that is the story your business is telling. So step number one, when you are putting your business plan together, is to write down your why. All right. And I want you to begin expressing your motivation for doing this. And you may want to skip this step. The title of the book is The Power of Broke by Damon Johns. You may want to skip this step about writing down your why. It's like, oh, that's all fluff and foo-foo, and I'm not going to mess with it. But you do need it, guys. I'm telling you, you will have those days in your firm, regardless of what level you're at, where you feel everything is stacked against you. And you're going to be asking yourself, why do you keep doing this? Right? That day, when I started my firm, I had a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And, I got up, the kids were getting ready for school. I had to be in court at 9. They all come down. I had my youngest had the clothes on backwards. So I had to get them all rechanged, got them sat down for breakfast, trying to get them out the door. My middle one throws up on himself, right? Oh my God, let's change the clothes, get them all changed, get everything. We're ready to walk out the door. It's pouring down rain. Get him in the car on the way to school. I have a flat tire. Oh my God, stop, change the tire, get him into school. And I still made it to court on time, right? Why on earth do I want to go through that again? Why do I want to keep doing it? If I'm in a cash crunch and I'm having a hard time and my sales are down and my marketing's down, and why am I doing this, right? You got to have a strong why. So do not skip this step, because you will come back to it no matter what level you're at. Doesn't matter. All right. Every business, no matter what it is, has 7 working parts. Okay. Walmart has 7 working parts. They've got a marketing, sales. They sell a bunch of stuff, right? But it's their sales department. They have a factory in place for how they're going to distribute the stuff that they sell and get it out the door. They have people that are going to work the floor and not work the registers anymore, apparently, but they work the floor. They have their buildings, their physical space. They have money and metrics so that they can make decisions about their business. And then they've got Sam Walton and their heirs, right? Or the owners of the company. And so every single business has the same 7 working parts. The only difference is you sell something different. All right. Marketing. It's marketing's job to deliver the right person to your front door. The right person in the right frame of mind with the right legal problem at the right time. If marketing delivers that to your door, then marketing's done its job. And now your intake and sales team take over to get them across the finish line, to understand what their problem or opportunity really is, and then how we can help them get there. Your factory are the systems, the blueprint that defines how is your business going to produce the work product that your sales team has promised the client. People, you want to make sure, do we have the right people in the right seats? Will we need more people in the future? you want to have clearly defined roles for people that are required to execute the systems that run your factory. Your physical plant. Well, today it can be physical or a virtual location, but it's where your people and your tech, where that all comes together so that the factory gets done. Your money and metrics are your financial controls, right? It's the heartbeat of your business. It's not only your financial controls, but it's your marketing and sales metrics. There's metrics in every part of your business. And as the owner, we have to pay attention to those, monitoring key performance indicators. And then the last part is you're the owner. Okay. You're the most important piece of the 7 working parts, because without you at your best, the business doesn't exist. So when we put together a business plan, we want to address all 7 parts. And this is the story that we're going to tell, and it has to make sense. And where we're going to start is you as the owner. All right. And this includes writing down your goals. Okay. What do you want to achieve? What's your vision for the future? What's your goal? Not only financially, but from a personal standpoint, from a professional standpoint. What do you want to achieve? And so you start with your goals. You also want to have a plan to work on your mindset. All right. If you're a $500,000 a year firm right now, what's it take to be $1 million firm owner? What decisions do a $2 million firm owner or an $8 million firm owner make? And how do I need to get there? Right? You got to look at people who've been where you want to go. So it's constantly making sure that your mindset is staying strong, that your culture and your big why that's going to drive you and your team towards your goals. And then the sustainability for you is you got to create balance and exercise. You got to exercise self-care so that you don't burn out. I mean, I will say this, that the number one reason, and I'm going to use most people, right? Because I'm the lawyer, I never use absolutes, but the number one reason people will start a business is really to buy back time. When I hire staff and I put systems in place, and now I hire people to replace me, and I'm taking off hats, now I free up my time. And now I can spend time away from the office with no access to me, and that business still runs. All right. That was the most valuable part to me. The money's great. The profits are great, but not having to be tied to that desk was even better. Being at all my kids' sporting events, going over with my 12-year-old when he made a Team USA as a goalie on a hockey team, and we traveled to Norway and Europe for 2 weeks and played hockey. Going to all these places and knowing and having the peace of mind that the business doesn't change at all. It's not dependent on me. And that was, to me, was the most important benefit of running a business. So what is it that you want? If you haven't started thinking about it, now's the time to do it. What are your personal, your professional, and your financial goals for 2024? You want to be super clear on what you want. For example, simply stating that you want to travel is not a clear enough goal. Where do you want to go? Who are you going to go with? How are you going to get there? What type of place do you want to stay at? How much is it going to cost you? And you start to get very crystal clear on exactly what you want, it becomes more possible to achieve. That's why we do vision boards. And we become laser focused on what we want. This is actually my vision board from about 4 years ago. The cruise ship, I like going on cruises with my wife, and we were going to plan a trip to Europe with 3 different cruises. The property in the middle is a beach property I wanted to buy in Belize and then put it out there on Airbnb. The other property on the upper right is the house that we were planning to build, and it was centered around that 48-inch gas stove on the bottom left. Right above the gas stove is an Airbnb in off the Amalfi Coast in Italy that I want to work at for a month. My wife always wants to stay at an overwater bungalow, so that's on our list. And then we like to travel, and I can work from anywhere I want to as long as I have internet. So we have a travel trailer and my Ford F-250, and that's actually a picture of it. So we've satisfied that part of it. But this was my vision board, and it's things that I want to achieve, right? Now, these are material things, right? What you want may not always be material either. What is important to you may not be those material things. What's important to you might be giving back to the community. One of the things that was really important to me was helping people in their time of need. And my wife and I and my daughter joined the Red Cross. And every Friday we work a shift from 4 to midnight. And if there's fires here locally, we go out, we canteen the firemen, and we put the family in a hotel, give them money for food and clothing, and we get them set up with shelter. But they also will call you to see if you can deploy for natural disasters. So these are some of the pictures of actual deployments we've been on. Why does this make a difference to you? Because it's about that time that I was able to buy back. When they call me and say, can you deploy? And I say, yes, I have to leave within 24 hours. And I would be gone for 30 to 35 days at a time. Okay, my firm doesn't miss a beat. Right. And it allowed me to do that. So part of my vision is to be able to continue to help other people and be able to give. And it's important that we think about this, like what fills your soul? You know, what makes you feel good about making a difference in someone's life? Because the more we give, the more we see in return. And so it may not be setting aside a certain amount of money. Maybe you want to set it aside for charity or disaster relief. It could be developing the systems, the processes, the procedures, and hiring the staff necessary that will allow you to spend less time in the office and put boots on the ground for something that is important to you. And while you're there, you're not worried about the firm burning to the ground or the marketing not producing leads, because Eric and Elliot and their team are on top of this shit. And your internal staff is setting appointments and your salespeople are selling new clients, right? Sales is closing them. Revenue doesn't stop simply because you're not there. So make sure you write down what it is you want. In the next year, what are you looking for? Do you want to really increase your revenues and your take-home benefit? Or would you like to just stay where you are revenue-wise, but systematize your business so that you're only working 3 days a week? If you only want to work 3 days a week, why do you want to work 3 days a week? Because you have this incredible family that you want to spend time with, or you enjoy adventuring, or actually do you just say that because it sounds good, right? It's not what you really want. Right. So if you were to close your eyes and wave the magic wand and you could totally have anything you wanted, money was not an option, what would you want? Right. So now, and if that question is for me, what type of firm did I ran? I ran a consumer bankruptcy firm. We also did fair debt collection and personal injury cases. Had offices in St. Louis, Detroit, and Kansas City. All right, back to this. So you closed your eyes. You've waved your magic wand. You know exactly what it is you want, but you're not going to get there tomorrow. Let's say you want to run a marathon. You know what? That doesn't happen overnight. Instead of going out and trying to run 21 miles tomorrow, you've got goals, you've got dates, you've got increments. We call this the difference between outcome goals and process goals. So the outcome goal is that you want to run a marathon. That's the end game, the light at the end of the tunnel, the treasure at the end of the yellow brick road. Your process goals are quite honestly the time it takes to get there. If we go back to our example of running a marathon, let's say you want to increase your distance by 1 mile each month so that you are able to run a marathon within 2 years, right? That's a realistic goal. And it's something you can look at and you can measure every month. You get to celebrate every month. You know if you're on track or not. And you are going to have a month that you get off track and you don't hit your goal. So in other months, you have to adjust. You have to work a little harder to make up the difference. So when you're looking forward at what you truly want, what you want personally, what you want professionally, what you want financially, look at where you are today and where you want to get to, and then let's set some incremental goals. All right, now that you know what you want, quite simply, the next thing you must look at is what it's going to cost to have the life that you want to live. How much will you contribute to the family income? How much time do you want to work in the business? How much time off do you want to take? Why are you in business? So you start today by where you're at right now. And I want you all of you to be honest with yourself on where you are right now. If it sucks right now, it freaking sucks. Okay. Don't label anything as good or bad. It just is. It's not going to change it, but it allows us to see opportunities to improve it. All right. But be honest with yourself, because if you're lying to yourself, it doesn't help you and it doesn't get you any further. It will keep you on this current hamster wheel. All right. So where are you now and where do you want to be? And most importantly, I will repeat, why is that life important to you? And don't just skip this. This is how you come up with your number. How much do I need to personally make in 2024? And then from there, I'm going to show you how we figure out how much your firm needs to produce in order for you to get that. The amount that you take out of the firm, we call total owner's benefits. You ask an accountant, it's a common term. Total owner's benefits is everything that the owner is going to take out of the firm. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in a little bit. Why is the life important to you? Total owner's benefit ratio. We're going to talk about these. Then we're going to decide what your gross revenue your firm needs to produce for you. All right. So total owner's benefit. This is very, very simple. You get a salary, right? But then you have some other things that you run through the business. Maybe you have that $1,000 lease payment on your car running through your company. At the end of the day, when you look at how much you take out of your company, you're not just looking at your net profit margin, right? Because guess what you also got? You also got the car. So total owner's benefit is everything you take out of the firm. That is, number one, your salary, which hopefully you're all paying yourself a normalized salary. Number two is your distributions of profit, whatever you're pulling out monthly, quarterly, or annually. Number three is the amount that the firm is paying for taxes on your behalf. And number four is all the other perks. All those things that you get because you have your own business that if you're an employee somewhere, you wouldn't get. All right. If you get a car through your firm, guess what? That's a perk. So that's something that you want to make sure that you're including in your total owner's benefit. It's really interesting to see business owners go through this exercise and discover the difference between what your total owner's benefit is in reality versus the stated profit margin on your P&L. All right, it's huge. I mean, I've seen this before where it was literally different by hundreds of thousands of dollars. All right, it's everything you run through the company. If it's a mortgage payment, your car, your cell phone, your internet, home cable. I mean, I own my own firm and I worked very closely with my CPA to maximize the owner's benefits and tax write-offs associated with that. So your total owner's benefit is everything that you get out of your firm. Perks, salary, distributions, and don't forget taxes paid on your behalf. And then, not to complicate things, but one caveat here is that if you invest back into your firm, you're doing great, and then all of a sudden in third quarter, you got a cash crunch and you've got to put some money into the firm. You want to subtract that because you're lending it to the firm. You want to subtract that from your total owner's benefit. So step 2 is for you to figure out what your total owner's benefit is for 2023. All right. Salary, profit, perks, and taxes paid on your behalf. This example here, $110,000 in a base salary, $130,000 this owner got as profit, $20,000 of perks, and then the firm set aside $15,000 for taxes. So the total owner's benefit in this case is $275,000 in 2023. All right, moving on. All right, now you take your total owner's benefit amount and the firm's gross revenue, and then you divide them, and that is your total owner's benefit ratio, right? It's very simple. So in this particular case, for 2023, the total owner's benefit was $275,000. And this particular firm's gross revenue was $917,000 so far. All right, the TOB benefit, the ratio would be 30%. So in the same way you find out what your net profit margin is, you want to know what your TOB ratio is. I like to see between 30 to 40% is kind of a rule of thumb. And this becomes really important, right? You're going to see how this number becomes crucial in figuring out your revenue and your marketing goals. And I will say your TOB ratio will be higher when you're a smaller firm and you don't have many employees and your overhead and everything is down. Your TOB ratio will be higher as you start to scale, but we're going to scale it the right way and make sure our ratios of other things like payroll and marketing and all this other stuff don't get out of whack. Then you should be able to maintain a very healthy total owner's benefit ratio. All right. And then this is really important, guys, because you're going to see how this number becomes critical in figuring out what your revenue and your marketing goals are for 2024. All right. So you start with your current TOB ratio. What is it for 2023? All right. Next, decide how much it is to live the life that you want to live in 2024. How much do you need out of the firm in total owner's benefits in 2024? Whatever that number is, divide it by the TOB ratio. So for example, in this example, the owner made $275,000 in 2023. That's a ratio of 30%. In 2024, they want to make $400,000. All right, so take $400,000, divide it by 0.30. The result is $1,333,333. And that's the firm gross revenue goal for 2024. All right, so we're backing into it, starting with our TOB amount. Now I know how much the firm needs to produce in order for me to live the life I want to live and make $400,000 next year. Now we need to tell the sales team how many new matters that we need to reach that revenue level, right? And you also may want to ask yourself, who's going to meet with all these people? All right, is it realistic for you to do it? Or do you need a salesperson in that role? Okay, this may be part of your people section that we'll get to in a few minutes. Okay, so now next you calculate the monthly number of sales needed to reach your goal. To do this, you need to know what your average case value is. All right, don't overcomplicate this step for now. Just take your gross revenue for 2023 and divide it by the number of cases that you closed in 2023 that are attributable to that revenue. All right, if you have a one-off, just throw it out for purposes of your average case value. for example, let's say I do contingency work and my revenue is $10 million in 2023, and I closed 101 cases, and that's where that money came from. That would be an ACV of $99,009. All right, ACV is average case value. But one of my cases paid out $9 million. All right, set that aside. All right, now I had $1 million from my remaining 100 cases. So my average case value I'm going to use for my purposes is $10,000. All right, makes sense. So if you have a one-off like that, set it aside. So in the example that I had given you, total owner's benefit of 400,000, benefit ratio 30%. Gross revenue we need is 1.333 million. And this firm has an average case value or matter value of $8,547 in 2023. So in order for them to get to 1.333 million in gross revenue, they need 156 cases next year, or an average of 13 per month. All right, now my sales, the sales part of my business plan is done. And my sales team knows exactly what they're shooting for and what they're going to be held accountable for. All right, now we have to tell the marketing team what the hell we're doing. So in the marketing section of our business plan, now that we know how many sales we need, what does your marketing system need to produce for you to get that amount of sales? How will you produce them? Will you expand your current marketing channels, or do you need to add some new ones? If new ones, what are they? All right, before we decide that, we have to tell our marketing team how many leads must be produced to make this happen so that the salespeople can achieve the sales goal. So this is how we're going to do it. How many leads do you need? To know that, you need to be tracking your at minimum, your 3 core internal conversion rates. All right. Lead to appointment is 1. Appointment to show up to the appointment is your 2nd conversion rate, and show up to new client is your 3rd. All right, so in this case, I'm going to skip down to number of monthly cases needed is 13. All right, I have a sales conversion rate. I sign 75% of the people I talk to. So if I need 13 clients, I got to talk to 18 people. So I need 18 sales conversations per month. I have a show up rate of 85%. So in order to have 18 sales conversations per month, I need 22 appointments on the books per month. And in order to get 22 appointments on the books per month, I need to have 32 qualified leads, because I set 70% of my leads to appointments. All right, so now my marketing team knows that it must produce 32 qualified leads per month in order to reach our revenue goals. As long as I'm on top of it, we make sure that my internal conversion rates remain consistent. So how do we do that? All right, we're going to see when we get to the money metrics section of your business plan. But here's an example of an actual business plan. This is a portion of that plan that I worked on with a client. It's a spreadsheet that I created. This shows everything that we've discussed so far. So up at the top in the left is the average case value, $5,000. In 2023, this particular member is making, or this was actually 2022. They made $250,000. It was about a 35% TOB ratio. This year, they want to make $450,000. We're going to maintain that 35%. So in order for them to get $450,000, their goal revenue is 1.285715. Okay. Over here on the left is their conversion rates. So they have 92 clients. They talked to 234 people. So they closed 39% of their people they talked to. They had a 92% show up rate, and they had a 35% lead to appointment rate. This number and we're going to be working on their sales, but this number is low. They charge for consultations, which I would expect this number to be a little bit, somewhat lower, in between the 30 and 40% range. But this number should be higher. So we've got a goal in our first quarter of getting this up to 55%. But using these conversion rates, now I know that if I want to do 1.285 million at $5,000, I need 258 cases in 2024. And I need to talk to 656 people. I need 715 appointments scheduled, and I need 2,044 leads. All right. Now my goals section, my marketing section, my sales section are getting close to being done. Now I've got to decide on what's the marketing mix that we want to go with in order to achieve that. So we know how many leads we'll need. All right. What are we going to implement to make it happen? If we add new ones, how do we know the number of leads that they're going to produce? I've got a couple of firms right now that we're just starting with Eric and Elliot. And so we don't know. They've never done pay-per-click before LSA. We don't know. And so it's a great question, but you start with a hypothesis. All right, at least until we gather real data from our efforts, and then we can use historical data. All right, so when choosing your marketing channels, keep in mind that the conversion rates will be different depending on the marketing channel that you choose. All right, the reason that is when you market to the general public, they don't know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you. This goes back, there's some marketing books I read a long time ago that talk about the difference between people that know you, like you, and trust you, and people that don't. Your current clients, your friends and family, your referral sources all know you, like you, and trust you, right? I expect those conversion rates to be higher. But when you're marketing using SEO, pay-per-click, LSA, TV, radio, direct mail, webinars, they don't know you, like you, and trust you. So your conversion rates will be a little bit lower. Okay. It doesn't mean that we do one over the other. You should always be doing both. All right. But we do this right when we understand how a human being makes buying decisions and what causes them to take action. And we craft our marketing messages to appeal to those things, right? And I'm going to give you a little hint here. Marketing is never about you, ever. At the point that your prospect is searching for a solution to their problem, they need to know that you understand the problem. And so they don't care about your experience or your credibility badges or where you went to school and things like that. They just don't care. In 20 years, we represented over 60,000 families in bankruptcy. And not a single time did they ever ask me how many years have I been in practice or where I went to law school, ever. They wanted to know if I could help take away their problems. All right. And I'm going to give you a caveat here too. Just because a marketing channel is directed to the general public does not mean you accept low conversion rates. I've heard that before. Oh, well, this is TV or radio, so it's normal to get 20%. No, it's not. Right. It's because your messaging is different. That's a whole other webinar. That Elliot would be great to teach with me, and we could do that sometime. All right. So here's a hypothesis, right? This is for them, same firm. I fleshed out how she's going to get her 2,044 leads in 2024. And this is where she was only doing referrals, right? She was trying to do LSA in-house, and then she had referrals from 4 sources, and she had her Google My Business profile up. So you can see in 2023, 70% of her business was coming from Google My Business. To me, that's dangerous. That's called concentration risk. All right. When you have anything in your firm that is concentrated into one thing, like Google My Business, or into one person in your office who is the bomb and they're the key employee, and they suddenly leave, you're screwed. All right. So it's called concentration risk. The worst number in business is one of anything. All right. So with this particular law firm owner, I said, hey, you need to have a conversation with Elliot and Eric. And let's get some quality pay-per-click going. And let's see if we can't increase your LSA. So you can see here in 2023, we have 0% for pay-per-click. Now over here on the right is our estimate of what percentage of leads are going to come from each source. All right. And then it breaks it down by, okay, fine. I need 2,085 leads. 15% of those are going to come from LSA. So 307 leads for the year, or about 26 a month. And that goes down for each of these marketing channels. All right. So this is my hypothesis. Now, every month we're measuring the actual. What did we actually do in November? And if, let's say that we only got 10 leads from LSA. Okay, great. Let's get on the horn with Maddie over on Elliot's team, or the person in charge of LSA. Maddie is the pay-per-click side. But let's get on the horn with them and let's figure out what's going on. Did we max out the budget early and we need to increase it, or did they not run, or what's happening? All right, same thing with PPC. So this is what we're doing every month on our calls. Is the first call of the month, we look at and see what actually happened. And then out of that comes, here's where I would make some adjustments. And then that becomes her action plan for the next 30 days to go make those adjustments and get this back on track. And so this is me helping her stay accountable to her business plan. All right. And I do see your guys' questions in there. I'm not ignoring you. Okay. I just know I'm keeping my time here. So I'm trying to make sure I get you all the information, and then I will try to answer these as we go. So don't think I'm ignoring you. All right. Now that we've ironed out how many leads we need to produce the number of sales that we have to generate the amount of revenue that we want, we need to address how we're going to live up to the promises we made to our prospects. In other words, is your factory set up to handle the increased number of new matters that you're going to need? What system and procedures do you need to create or modify to handle the increased volume? How are you going to make sure that if you double your business tomorrow, you don't break everything and end up with pissed off clients, bad reviews, or bar complaints? Okay, worst case scenario, you drop the ball and you've got a malpractice case. So we need to make sure your factory is set up to handle the number of cases that we're planning to bring in. All right, a SKU, right? A stock keeping unit. SKU stands for stock keeping unit. Every business has SKUs. We normally think of SKUs at Walmart, but it's simply what you sell. All right. In your case, it's legal services. Every law firm has a menu of items sold, similar to McDonald's. And like McDonald's, you need to know exactly what it cost you to produce that item and if it's profitable to do so. If you don't know, and if you're kind of looking around the room right now, like, I don't know, all right, that just gives you an opportunity to do this. All right. To do it, you got to be clear on your cost of goods sold. At McDonald's, they know how much each Big Mac costs them to go out the door. They know their price of pickles and secret sauce and their buns and all of that stuff, right? And the labor to put into it. In other words, how much is it costing your firm in labor to produce the item that you've sold? What is your gross profit margin per menu item? And again, if you don't know, that's okay. but we just uncovered an opportunity in your business to change that and become much more profitable going forward. And if you're out there doing flat fee work, it's extremely important you know your cost of goods sold, right? And when you know how much time each person working on the file takes to produce the final product, you can then determine how many total cases can be in your inventory before you need to hire that next person. Now you can comfortably say that when I get to X number of cases per month, based on the actual time it takes, let's say for a paralegal to handle the file in a given month, I'm going to need to, at a minimum, bring on a contract paralegal until my volume gets to this number. And then when it gets to this number, I'm going to hire a full-time paralegal. All right. As a rule of thumb, your gross profit margin per SKU needs to be 67% or higher to give you the best chance of being profitable. Think of every dollar that comes into your firm. No more than a third of that dollar should go to labor costs. No more than a third should go to your other overhead. And the final third should be profit in your pocket in distributions. All right. So having a gross margin of 67% or higher, if you look at the inverse of that, that's 33%. So that means your labor cost is 33%. All right. Our marketing is now cranking. Elliot and Eric are killing it. I'll give you an example. I had a firm that started with them in late 2022. I was their advisor at the time, and they were averaging 7 to 8 clients a month. And now in 2023, they're averaging like 30. It's like a ridiculous amount. She's had to up her revenue goal twice for this year because of the amount of business. She almost imploded her factory in doing so. All right. And so when your marketing is cranking and we start to see early indicators that, oh my God, we're all of a sudden doubling the amount of cases we're coming in, and your factory is set up to handle it, who is going to do the work? Is your current staff sufficient, or will you need more people? How do you know unless you have the data from your SKUs that will tell you how many cases each person can handle? And I'll give you a warning here. Don't fall into the trap of gut feeling. That is the biggest mistake you can make to becoming unprofitable, and your payroll ratio will get out of whack and you will overhire. It's not that you might overhire, you will overhire. I've seen this dozens of times unless you base your hiring on actual data. I've got a firm that I'm working with right now that just hired me, and their payroll ratio is 79% of their revenue. It's killing them, right? And they were just hiring based on gut feeling. All right. So now we go to the people section. This is the information that should be contained in the people section of your business plan. Who do we need to hire to perform the job that the sales team sold? So if you look at your SKUs and you say, okay, if we get to this amount of cases, by July, I'm going to need another full-time paralegal. Maybe by September, I'm going to need another associate. So this hiring plan then goes into the people section of your business plan. Who is currently doing each of the jobs that must get done for the firm to function? We want to know who you currently have. What's your organizational chart look like? Who and when do we need to onboard people? How are we going to onboard them so that we're profitable and not coming out of pocket for this person by the end of the first month that we've hired them? When do we need to start recruiting? Right? Since COVID, we're looking at 5 to 6 months to get the right people in place. So we got to be ahead of the game here. Do your positions, every position in your office, do they have clear key performance indicators? If not, you need to have them. Otherwise, how are you going to measure and manage your people? All right. Here's an example of the people section of the marketing plan, of the business plan. So on the left, we've got the owners listed there at the top. She has a full-time associate, Anne. She's made an offer to another associate, but they can't start until August. She's hiring a new paralegal, Emily, and then she has a legal assistant, Teresa, and we're looking at possibly another paralegal later in the year. So here in the first column is what we're billing those people out at. $350 an hour for associates, $225 for the paralegal, $195 for the legal assistant. The annual hours is the number of hours that they're going to bill. This is an hourly firm. The associate here, Mary Ann, is prorated because she's not starting until August. And then Emily, and then you got the legal assistant. Legal assistant here is part-time. All right, so now I know based on these revenue level, what we charge per hour, if they hit their hours, then this is the capacity, right? We should be able to do 1.535 million before we have to hire anybody else. So her, if you remember, her goal revenue for this year was 1.285. So she should not have to hire anybody else. All right. Then if we keep going over here, we've got what we're paying them in a salary. This column is we're rounding it up by 20%. And then we go over here and it'll give us the ROI per employee. Okay, so if it's costing the firm, for example, on Anne, $11,350 a month, she's generating $45,500 a month. So I have a 4.01 times ROI on that employee. And so you want to strive to set up a 4 to 5 times ROI on your employees. Okay, this associate's only showing at 1.83, but that's because she's prorated. Okay, when she gets up to 1,560 hours in 2025, it's going to have a similar ROI. All right, and if you hire people and you set up your compensation plans and your bonus plans in such a way that you're getting these kinds of ROI, you can't help but be profitable. And if this plays out the way this looks, then her cost of goods sold will be right at 33.4%. Okay, so so I use this to kind of double check her SKUs. All right. All right, so now you realize you got to hire. I know we're running out of time here, so I'm going to just buzz through this here. You realize you got to hire more people. Where are they going to sit? Will you be in person? Are you going to be virtual? Are you going to be hybrid? Are they going to be out of the country? Or are they going to all be in country? This is addressed in the physical plan. And it should tell the story of how you will accommodate the growth that you're planning through what resources you will need. All right. What are you going to need to support all these people? Physical space, furniture, tools and technology, software, subscriptions, licenses or permits, insurance that you may have to add, policies and procedures for these employees. Maybe you're adding some new stuff. All right. This is all part of your physical, what lives in your physical plant. So if you're going to hire 5 more people, you got to tell us in the physical plant section, do I have enough physical space or do I have to expand? And how am I going to do that? If I have to expand, do I need to buy more furniture? Do I have to get more technology, software, more licenses, things like that? So that's what you describe in the physical plant section of your plan. All right. And then as your firm scales, having the right metrics in place is key to moving to the next level and running your firm as a business. There's several areas of metrics that you need to be paying attention to. And they come in the form of KPIs or key performance indicators. You want to move to a point where you are running and making decisions in your firm based on data, not emotion or gut feeling. Okay, I'll give you a quick example. I had an associate that I hired, and he kept falling behind in his work. He was like 3-4 days behind in his work. Everybody else is up to date and working on their current day. And I went in and I asked him, dude, you're behind on your work. What's going on? And he said, I'm constantly on the phone. I am on my incoming and outbound calls. I'm constantly on the phone. And so I said, okay, fine. Let me go talk to my office manager. So I went and talked to the office manager. I went in there and I said, let's put an ad out for another associate. And she just looked at me, God bless her, and said, why? And I said, because Joe is overworked and he can't get to his work because he's got so many phone calls. And she said, did you look at the phone records? I'm like, hearing crickets, right? No. Well, don't you think you should? Okay. So I pulled the phone records, right? The day before, he was on the phone for a total of 4 minutes and 32 seconds, incoming and outgoing calls. So I waited another day, ran another report. He told me the same thing. And I said, would you be shocked to know that yesterday you were only on the phone for 3 minutes and 57 seconds? And he just sat there and didn't say a word. Right? I was about to pull the trigger and hire another $75,000 associate for gut feeling or what I was hearing. Right? Manage based on the data, people, and keep from making those kinds of mistakes. All right. What key performance indicators will you track, right? You got to track these to measure progress against your goals. You have to track them to hold your staff accountable. And it gives you clear visibility into your growing firm. All right. Marketing metrics, the number of leads that we're expecting, the number of consultations, the number of sales, even external metrics. Elliot will tell you that I hammer them all the time on click-through rates and conversion rates and things like that, cost per click. And we're watching those key performance indicators. Your business metrics, you want to look at those, to see, are you efficient or not? Is your team fully utilized? If we go back to that one slide, I know that if all of those people are hitting their hours and they're fully utilized, then they're going to do 1.5 million in revenue. But what if they're only doing $1 million in revenue? The business is there, they're just not getting the work done. That means they're not utilized. They're underutilized. They're not getting it done. So I got to hold them accountable to that. All right. Performance metrics. How many, what's the SKU deliverables per employee per month? And then your financial metrics is making sure you're regularly reviewing your key financial reports. All right. Your P&L, your balance sheet, your aged AR report, a cash flow projection report, a WIP report or work in progress report if you're an hourly firm. Okay, look at these things every month so that we can make decisions on the business and make adjustments as we go. All right, and then final component is you. How are you going to take care of yourself and improve yourself? You're the center of it all. You're the passion and the driving force for the rest of this. You got to lean into that big why and recharge your battery, your mind, and your body with time off, with trainings, with mastermind meetings, reading, exercise. I'm reading a book right now called the 9-Figure Mindset. Okay. What is that? To be a 9-figure business, I never quite got there. So what is that mindset? How will you ensure you, as the owner and chief driving force behind your firm, how will you ensure that you have the tools that you need to thrive? In terms of your knowledge, how will you learn to grow and manage your firm? How will you prepare yourself to be the owner of $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, $10 million, $20 million firm? You need to surround yourself with the people who've already done it. How are you going to keep your motivation or your drive high? What support do you need? What type of consultants will you need to help you along the way? and your mindset is most important. What is the mindset that you're going to need, and how will you attain that mindset? What skill sets do you need to develop to be able to become the person who can run that size of business? How must your belief systems change in order to support all of that growth? What must you believe is possible? I can tell you right now, I had to go through a lot of mindset, because what I didn't tell you guys was, before I started my law firm, I worked at General Motors on the assembly line for 11 years. I've built cars through undergraduate and law school, and they actually closed the plant when I was taking the bar exam, and nobody would hire me. So it forced me to start my own firm. So all I knew was the automotive industry, right? I had to learn a lot in a very fast amount of time. So how will you improve your relationship, for example, with money and wealth? That was something I had to overcome. We're making, $8 million a year off of bankrupt people. My wife struggled with that. I struggled with it, right? How does the owner of a $5 million business think? How do they make decisions, right? If you're in your little silo, you don't know. You got to surround yourself with the people who do. All right. That is it for me, Elliot. I just threw my contact number up there, my email address. And if any of you, I'm sure you have a ton of questions about this. And Elliot mentioned seeing me do this spreadsheet in whole. I didn't share the whole thing with you guys, but if you want to book a call with me, you most certainly can for 30 minutes, and I can go over and kind of help you with your business and putting that together for you. Let me real quick answer these questions. Estate practice or even family law or PI are easier to calculate an average case value, but what about general business? So what I would say on litigation lawyers is break it down into simple litigation cases, medium litigation cases, and complex. Right. So you may have some simple ones where maybe there's a dispute and, you don't even file suit and we settle the thing before that happens. Or maybe we file suit and we get through the first round of discovery, and that's a medium case. Maybe if it goes all the way to trial, it's a complex case. So then calculate your time and your hours based on a case going to trial. That's a complex litigation. Then we've got a medium litigation and we've got a simple litigation. All right. And then can we get a copy of the spreadsheet? Probably can't do that right now, but we could talk about it. If you guys want to reach out to me, and see. I didn't plan on making that entire thing available for everybody, but for me, I work better with spreadsheets. You can definitely build a business plan in a Word document if that works better for you. But to me, it's all in one place in a spreadsheet, and that works better for me. Great question. Recommended, there's 3 big ratios we look for in our business when we're looking at our monthly P&L. First, the first one's always going to be your payroll. That's going to be your biggest expense. So that should be between 33 and 43%. Why do I have a range? Remember, I said your gross profit margin should be 67% or higher. So your labor to produce your actual revenue generators who work on cases will be 33% or less in labor costs. But then you're going to have some people that don't work on cases. You might have an intake person or a file clerk or somebody that does your marketing person, right? So that extra 10% is for people that don't work on cases. So 33 to 43% should be your labor cost. Your marketing expense, I'm looking for a 9 to 11% of revenue. If your marketing expense is a lot higher than that, then we've got to examine your ROI and where it's going wrong. And just because you have a higher ratio than 9 to 11% doesn't mean that Elliot sucks. Right? There's a lot of moving parts into ROI. It could mean that your intake or sales suck. And we've got to fix that. All right.
But
And
you're
then
going to yell at one of the two of us pretty much.
yeah, exactly. And here's the thing, it's common that when we don't see the ROI, we blame marketing. And I'll give you an example. I had a firm, I got on the phone with her, and the first thing she said to me when I got on the phone is, I'm canceling fucking pay-per-click. Sorry for the F word. That's what she said, exactly. And I'm like, okay, I recognized immediately she's emotional. And I said, talk to me about this. Why are we doing that? Because I got zero revenue from it last month. So I'm done with it. I'm like, okay, let's walk through this a little bit. How much did you spend? She said 3,500. I said, okay, fine. How many impressions did we have? And she said 10,182. And I wrote all this down because it was a good example for me to use. And I said, okay, fine. How many clicks did we get? 783. Right? So right off the bat, I know she's getting almost an 8% click-through rate. The average click-through rate in the legal industry for a search campaign is like 2.9, somewhere in that range. It could be a little bit higher right now. So her ad is working well. She's getting 8% click-through rate. I said, okay, fine. Out of the 783 that went to your landing page, how many called your office? She said 116. So that's like a 14.88% conversion rate from the landing page, which is good. The average conversion rate for a landing page in the legal industry is 10%. I hold Elliot and them higher than that. But that's what it is, right? So she's getting 15%. Right there, right at that point, I know that pay-per-click is working. It's bringing the right people in the right frame of mind with the right legal problem to the doorstep. 116 of them. And I said, how many of those set an appointment? She said 4. And 2 didn't show up, and we didn't sign the other 2. So I'm canceling pay-per-click. I said, you don't need to cancel pay-per-click. You need to get rid of your intake person. Right? So she was about to make an emotional decisions without actually looking at the data on what was happening. Because her ROI wasn't there, she was blaming marketing. Okay. And then the last ratio, the big one, is your occupancy expense. All right. Somewhere between 4 to 6%. Usually that one's not a problem, but 4 to 6% of your revenue. And then I would just look at, your other overhead. If you back out your labor cost of your P&L, then your other overhead should be no more than 1/3 of your revenue. Then you've got 1/3 going to your labor cost, 1/3 going to your other overhead, and then your net margin on your P&L should be 1/3 or higher. And that's part of your TOB. Okay, I think I answered all the questions.
Yeah, any other, James, if you have the time, any other questions? There's still quite a bit of you in here. Don't be shy. You have James here while you're formulating your questions. I mean, I thought that was really, really good. Like, I loved it from a business owner perspective. Super, super insightful. So, guys, if you are having problems with your goals, you're having problems with the clarity, these plans, when we work with people that James brings to us, they have a lot of clarity. They know exactly what they're looking for. It makes everybody's life a lot easier. And he's there to, like he said, write us. If we're not doing a good job, he's really well versed. So book a call with him, pick his brain. He's been doing this for a long time. I love to pick his brain when we're on calls. And I learned a lot in that presentation. So any other questions, feel free to drop them. We will be sending out a recording of this. So I'll send that out in an email. I'll also put a link to James's calendar in there if you want to book a call with him. Yeah, Darren, thank you. I'll put a calendar link in there if you want to book a call with him. And then also I want to point, he does have a free Facebook group. It's called Raising the Bar, Growing a Profitable Business. It's probably in his QR code there if you want to check it out. So I'm definitely, hopefully having James back. A lot of information. I hope you guys enjoyed it, especially our clients. Definitely, excited for you guys to meet him. So if there's no more questions, we'll wrap this up. And James, we really, really appreciate the time. It was extremely insightful.
Thank you for having me, Elliot. And anytime, just ask me and I'll be on anytime.
It sounds like a plan. All right, everybody, you have a good Christmas, a good holiday, and we will see you next time.
Thank you all.